All right, welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. With me is Paul O'Neill. It's been a long time, man.
It has been like what, 3 weeks?
It has. It's felt like an eternity without you.
Missed you so much.
Yeah, it's quite traumatic when we're not spending time together. I did notice though that whenever I introduce the podcast, for some reason I can't enunciate episode. I give it an A, and you haven't helped me on that yet.
You say things weird all the time, and I know that I say things weird all the time because I'm Canadian. So I don't want to open up the can of worms.
the southern twang comes out every now and then, but yeah, I know that's like episode, like with the A on it.
You have a little bit of a drawl, and then I say everything as a question.
Yeah.
So,
and I hung out with my dad for like a day, so I'm sure the drawl is a little bit more pronounced right now because I went up to see him on his birthday, and he's about as country as it gets when he talks. He talks very slow, and it's just very much with like that North Carolina Southern drawl to it.
Do you ever feel like there's certain people, you know how like on WhatsApp or on YouTube, they have the option to like speed up to like 1.25 or 1.5 speed? I've
never been on WhatsApp, but YouTube, I've done that. I've done that on Audible too. Like you can do that on Audible.
Yes. Yeah. I wish you could do that to people.
Oh, sometimes I just sit back though, and I just laugh because it's just so funny. Because it's just so slow. I just want to like smack them in the back of the head and be like speed it up a little. Like, what's going on? Are you missing something? Is there like a tick or something in the back there?
And like, I pride myself on being very polite when especially with strangers, like people I don't know. And periodically I'll get approached by someone in the gym. And usually it's an older gentleman who wants to tell me about the old days. And I was watching a show yesterday with Olivia, and the scene was like a current girlfriend meets an ex-girlfriend. And the current girlfriend was like, "You're droning on, get to the point." And I'm like, fuck, I wish I could be that blunt with people and be like, "Hey, old man, tell me what you want to tell me because I have shit to do."
But he doesn't. And how dare you rush someone who's that close to death when he just wants to have a chat?
It's true. I actually did meet a guy yesterday at the gym, young lifter who happened to be one of the only lifters on our side of the gym when I needed a spot for my opener. And he's like, "You're Paul O'Neill, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." No, he's like, "I listen to your podcast every week. It's awesome. Thank you."
You have a fan.
We have a fan.
Well,
of the 14 people who listen to Coach's Corner,
I have multiple fans. It's not new to me, but you do, so that's cool. Yeah, no, I'm happy for you. It feels good, doesn't it?
It does. I want to get like a plaque.
Did you sign like his shirt or something?
I signed his chest.
Should have autographed him for sure.
You want my autograph? Not like, "Can I have your autograph?"
Right.
You want my autograph?
You just have like a Sharpie with you at all times. And you just start signing stuff when people come up to you, just anticipating that they know who you are.
Absolutely.
I mean, no one's probably there to spot you because you've been squatting high for like 3 weeks. So they're like, "Oh, he's got it. No big deal."
Wow.
What's up with that, man? Why are you squatting high?
I have absolutely not been squatting high.
Me and Emma noticed it.
I have not been squatting high at all.
I don't know. It looked.
If Jeremy Hamilton is standing beside me and he says it's fine, I think I'll be okay.
He's an old man. He probably needs glasses. I'm just telling you.
I will let him know that you said that.
Let him know. He can't. What is he gonna do? Come down from Canada? He's like 5'3".
The borders are closed.
Canada anyways.
Yeah, that's true. We're landlocked.
Right. All the Canadians are trying to get visas and come over to America. It's great. But yeah, your opener was good. That looked good. But man, the two before that, I was like, "Oh, he's squatting high."
Which one? The reverse band one?
Yeah, that was high. And then the one before
no
that was high.
Way.
Oh man. I'm telling you, buddy, from a sheer friend to friend perspective, you're squatting high on those two. This one looked good and it moved fast. So I'm like, okay, he'll be fine. Not a big deal. But it looked like to me, you're losing, you're shaking and losing stability in the hole. So you're not finding depth because you don't have that stability and you're coming up a little high. I noticed it, Emma noticed it. So I just thought I'd relay it to you live on air. So anyone else that goes back and watches the video, you can comment hi or good on his post and let us know.
I'm going to just put this out there. I've squatted way higher than that in training.
Oh, I know you have. I've seen it. I've seen it. But I'm just saying, I don't want to see you go to a meet and squat high.
I've literally never, I shouldn't say never. I have only once been called high for a squat that I completed. And when I re-racked it, I literally went like this. I shook my head no, because I knew it was bad.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not worried. The opener felt good.
Maybe there's different standards in Canada. I don't know. But it breaks my heart when I see a lifter on their last attempt. They get it and it's smooth, but it's high. It's like, at least give yourself a chance, right? Like, who cares if you can move it fast, if you can't get down there? At least get buried by it. Like, make an effort to like own the lift and try to complete it. But man.
Yeah, like I said, I've never had a problem with depth in a meet. The only one that I'll give you that was high was the 770.
Yeah.
That was really high.
They were both high. I'm just
negative.
Okay. Yeah.
In any case, training has been going very well.
I've judged 3 meets, by the way. I know what I'm talking about.
3?
3.
I've done 30.
I've done more than I've judged 3. Okay.
I'll have you know, I own 4 televisions. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the bench press. Ever since I hurt my shoulder, I am having a really hard time stabilizing my left arm.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Well, there's no more infraspinatus there. So
you think you tore it completely,
it's
or you
gone.
know you tore it?
I know I tore, my whole lat was like bloody. It came out like a week after, but there's no more pain in it. So I can rack my squats and bench press. It feels as though I can't set my scap as deep as I would want to when I'm unracking.
Well, you're supposed to have your scapula protracted anyways, so
fully protracted, right?
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, apparently.
It's so stupid. I'm gonna save your meat. You're squatting high and your shoulder blades need to be protracted when you bench.
How bad's my deadlift?
I mean, we haven't gotten there yet because we're saving the worst for last.
Okay, so what's wrong with my deadlift?
You've been pulling off of blocks this whole time. No, I'm afraid that
every other week.
Every other conjugate Paul over here can't do a competition specific lift to save his life. Mars bar squatting. What are you gonna do? Good mornings to deload? Like what? I don't understand.
I was contemplating it. I should completely torch my lower back the week before the meet.
Just do a heavy single followed by a variation of another heavy good morning single and call it a day. Call it a meet prep.
I was thinking, like an Anderson good morning. Like just sheer force as much as I can get.
Or that Vogelpool deadlift where you put the SSB on your back and then you deadlift the bar. Yeah.
What was the other one? The ox lift with the trap bar? Same thing, but with the trap bar.
Oh, is it?
Jared does that one all the time.
Did somebody was like, oh, I can't have him name a lift after himself. I'm just going to copy. He kabuki'd it.
Oh, wow. He did.
Good for him, man. You learn from the best.
That's a verb now.
Oh, yeah. It has to be, right? Ask Alico.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. And Sornix and
Rogue
and any bent bar, Buffalo bar before that, Buffalo bar, any of them.
Did you know?
Their motto should be: if you have a design, we'll copy it and charge twice as much
and make it worse. Exactly. Their squat bar is so like I know I'm going to catch heat for saying this, but like I don't care. The Kabuki squat bar is worse than AIDS.
Yeah, no one was a fan of it at the US Open when they brought it in.
It immediately, because it's supposed to be stiff in the middle and then more flexible to the outside. So unless you hit the hole as fast as humanly possible, as soon as I unrack it, I just start shaking because I'm not used to the oscillation because I've been training on a Texas, which itself isn't that stiff. Like it's still getting quite a bit of flex out of it. But yeah, the meet that I'm doing, they were supposed to use a kabuki bar, but enough of the lifters complained that they're not doing it anymore.
Oh, good.
That was the only like worry I had about the meet. I was like, well, the bar might fuck me up. But I mean, as far as like training cycles go, I think this was one of the most productive ones I've had. It hasn't been very fun because like I've just been doing singles for the last 12 weeks. And
What's not fun about that?
I just don't feel like I don't feel like I'm working very hard. Because I just do one single. Yeah. Well, it's so divorced from how I used to train.
Yeah, for sure. It's always the idea of like more is better, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I'm the healthiest I've ever been at 2 weeks out from a meet. I literally have no orthopedic issues whatsoever. I'm starting to get that like typical fatigue, like general fatigue, but I know that has nothing to do with my training. And then, yeah, like everything, I feel like I'm going to be peaked really well. I think the difference is going to be, I'm not going to get as much of I mean, this might be a conversation, but like a super compensation. Like, I don't think my numbers in the meet are going to be much different than my numbers were in training. Yeah. Whereas like in past preps, I might have squatted 750 in training and then 800 in the gym or 800 in the meet. This time, I think it's going to be a very predictable increase, which is good. I mean, it'll make attempt selection a lot easier.
What's better, like predictability or hoping for a home run?
Exactly. I know I like now, as you know, like when you're 2 weeks out, the heavy stuff is done. You're like, you start to play, okay, what are my attempts going to be based on how everything went? And so in my head right now, I'm like, okay, well, I really want that 826 because it's the Canadian record. But then if I go 826 and then 418, and if I pull a small PR, then my total will be 1975. And I'm like, exactly. So I'm like, okay, well, if I pull 749, then I can total 2001. But I could also try squatting more than 826. And so I start playing these games. And I'm like, and in my head, I know that the only thing I really want to do is PR my total one more time.
Yeah.
And I want that Canadian record. So whatever I have to do to get that, that's going to be what I do. That's going to be whatever I finish with. A total, because I'm competing at 220, 1930 is my PR at 220. Mm-hmm. So anything over that, I'm a happy camper.
What's your best total altogether?
1960.
Okay.
I did that at 242. That was, and these were like 6 years ago. I did my heaviest total was in 2016. Oh. And my best 220 total was in 2015.
Oh, why do you still compete, man?
Honestly, that's what I've been asking myself, and that's like why I'm kind of. I think that's why I'm done. Like I said, I didn't really enjoy this training cycle from just a fun perspective.
And well, how much of that is like COVID related, where you're not? I mean, I know you went to gyms and stuff and trained with your friends, but is it a different atmosphere? Are you just training around different people, or no?
Okay. It is a different atmosphere because like we don't have Dynamo anymore. We don't have our barbell club. Like I'm not training with Jay and Cade anymore, and so that's been different. I'm not like the young kid trying to catch those guys. I'm the guy at the top who people are trying to catch, but in the same breath, like if this is the way that I'm going to have to train for competitions in order to be healthy and perform, if I don't enjoy it, then I don't think I'm going to do it anymore.
And if you don't enjoy it, what's the like benefit of it? Like, and if you don't enjoy it, can you actually progress too? That's another thing, right? Like,
yep. I'm definitely in the thought process of like, I have some things to prove to myself, and that's why I'm like, I need to PR my total one more time and prove to myself that I can overcome all the injuries that I've had in the last 5 years and actually put up a PR. But beyond that, at this point, I don't think I have anything more to prove to anyone, because am I going to be setting world records?
No,
right? So
and you're not going to catch me. So it's like I set the bar too high, and that's unfortunate.
You did. It's that
I
bench
apologize
press.
for that.
Did
After you retire, we'll do a podcast where I'll give you some more secrets on how you could have totaled 2000.
Number one, bench more than a female.
Well, that would help. You're still stronger than some other internet coaches out there on your bench press. So
Yeah,
that's
true. But
it's respectable. It's over 400. So that's not bad, right?
It would have been cool to finish with a double body weight bench press, but
we'll lose more weight.
I could lose more weight.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I'm ready for a new challenge. So I think bodybuilding is going to be next. I want to keep competing in something, keep pushing myself in something. And it's been fascinating to me over the last year or so. So I'm going to dive in, do that.
Do they have a square guy division that I'm missing or something?
You know what? Just wait, man. Just
you have to get your board shorts cut like a certain length and a certain height, so it makes your waist look a little bit. Are you going to do bodybuilding, or are you going to do?
No, I'm going to do bodybuilding for sure.
Oh, you don't have the legs for that, big guy.
Not yet.
What do you mean not yet? You're over the hill. How old are you?
I'm 34.
Oh, your legs aren't going to grow. They start deteriorating after 30.
That's so?
Yeah. If you look at the research and you look at all the stuff that goes on with the upper level bodybuilders, their legs are the first thing to deteriorate. So if you don't have legs already, it's going to be very hard. I don't know what your legs look like. I'm just giving you shit, but
my calves definitely need work.
Yeah, no, well, no one cares about calves, to be honest, except for Arnold.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be like, I have no delusions of being good at bodybuilding.
You're going to be a pro. I can see it. Pro card. Road to pro card 2022.
Square division world champion.
That's what happens. A lot of the powerlifters leave powerlifting and they're like pro card first try.
Yeah, I remember there's a guy at our gym who competed at the US Open, said he was going to set the all-time world record at 198, never did it, herniated a couple discs. Then he was like, I'm going to go pro in bodybuilding, and then he hasn't done anything. And I'm like, maybe just do something for fun. Do something for you, for some internal validation.
Where's the fun in that, man?
I am so thankful that I grew up in an age where there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, and we just lifted weights because we loved lifting weights. And
yeah, I don't know. I think people shit on Instagram a little too much. And, I mean, I think there was always people who lifted and done powerlifting for a little bit and then quit because they found it not to be satisfying or it was boring. I don't think it has anything to do with external validation. I think some people do it for external validation. I think some people do it and they're just bored with it. And I think some people do it and they get beat up and they get banged up and they just don't want to do it anymore because they never really loved it. Like, I don't think social media has a big part to play in that, in my opinion, because it just seems like that's an easy cop out to say that it's a social media thing and people are looking for external validation. I just think it's a sport that's very demanding psychologically from a monotony standpoint. And if you just don't love doing it, you're going to quit eventually. It's not going to last long. But I never bag on people for doing one meet and then quitting. I think it's great they tried it out and they're, they gave it a shot.
That's not the impression I wanted to leave. It was more so the people who continue to do things simply for that external validation without actually asking themselves like why they really are doing it. I can think of a few, like, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but I can think of a few people just in my circle of acquaintances in my area where I'm like, do you really love this?
You really narrowed it down. Okay, you didn't have to throw anyone under the bus, but when you give that type of area of circumference, I could probably think of 5 people.
There's a million people in my city.
I highly doubt that. It's Canada.
No, there is. Yeah, like people who, maybe do a meet here, do a competition of some other kind over here, do a little bit of this. And all the while it's like on to the next best thing. And this is going to be my thing. And I'm like, find something you really love and then dive into it. Like,
what if they just love being active?
But that's not why they're doing it.
You personally know that there are people that get trapped in like, well, if this is the only thing that I'm good at and this is the thing that I'm having success with, I'll do it even if I don't like it, right?
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot of that, but what I'm trying to hit home is just like I love powerlifting. I absolutely love it, but I am absolutely at a place where my body just can't do it the way I want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I think when you start to incorporate like drugs into the mix, there's a shelf life for everyone, or there should be, right? Absolutely. And yeah, powerlifting is great. It's like I said, it's a very monotonous sport where it demands a lot from you psychologically, because you want to stray from the path, because it does get boring. But the only way to be good is to not stray from the path. So the people that have success, that have been doing it for 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, the amount of work that it takes to get there, and how easy it is to deviate from that, and they haven't done that yet. And I do respect that, and I think powerlifting has brought a lot of really good people into my life. It's a great community, right?
Absolutely.
But it is a boring sport, and for that, I definitely think that the expansion of other things is a good thing for people, even if they are jumping from thing to thing, trying to find something that they like, and they may just like jumping from thing to thing, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as they're having fun. But if they're doing it to try to, be the best powerlifter, then they're like, well, I can't be that, so let me go try to be the best bodybuilder. Or I can't be that, let me try to be the best. It's like you have to be with something for 8 to 10 years to be the best at it. And if you're not willing to commit to that, then you're never going to get it. But where I'm at now with my like fitness routine and stuff is like, I'm just trying out a bunch of stuff and just having fun. And I have no delusion that I'm going to be the best endurance athlete on the planet. Like, that's not the goal. The goal is to like push myself and try to see what my body can accomplish, and also try to have fun doing it in the same time, right? And that's where the challenge comes in, of like trying to keep it fun, trying to occupy your mind to do other things so that you can endure some of the suffering that comes along with trying to push your body as well. So I think there's a fine balance that you have to have with everything, right?
It also, I think with the endurance stuff for you, I think it also satisfies your need to tinker.
Yeah.
Right. Like the little, like the tweaks, the nuance, the fueling, the timing, the, different training modalities. I think as coaches, we have this analytical mind that needs to be occupied with something. So like for me, I know that a big piece of training and coaching that I love is like, I get to experiment on myself and see what works and see what doesn't. And I think with, as I mentioned, I'm going to try bodybuilding next year. I think it's going to provide me with the same thing. It's like another opportunity to tinker and tweak and experiment. And
are you going to do your own things work?
No, I don't trust myself to do that. With my history of like eating issues, no, not a chance. I will give myself an eating disorder, 100%.
We might do that anyways. That's what the sport
probably already have it.
Right? That's why I'm not a huge fan of bodybuilding, because very few people are going to leave that sport without an eating disorder, without some type of dysmorphia, some type of issues. So I'm never one to, it takes a special person to like do bodybuilding that I would recommend, like, oh yeah, you should pursue bodybuilding, right? One, if you're genetically gifted, like the people in the gym who go to the gym and it's like, oh, it's my first week. It's like, oh, you're 250 already and it's your first week. Okay, you're probably going to be pretty good at this, right?
Yeah, like I said, I have no delusions of being the best. I want to do this to push myself mentally, go through the process and see what it's like. learn as much as I can along the way, so that, I'm coaching one physique athlete right now. And I want to be able to say, like, yeah, I've been through this process. I've dieted as hard as you need to diet. And, I can help try to prepare people for that. And maybe it's something that I really enjoy doing and dive in. Maybe it won't be.
It won't. I can just tell right now.
Oh, yeah?
I can see it on your chubby little cheeks. You're going to be
dude.
Square, miserable human being. Ripped abs.
I'm going to have ripped abs, though.
For a week, maybe a day.
Maybe a day. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm excited for the new challenge. It's like the novelty of it, right? It's new. It's in a couple months, so like it's not something that's going to be done right now. I'm competing again in January in sleeves for like one more little check on the list, and then we'll see.
Is that in Canada as well?
Nope, that's in Miami.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to come visit you.
What meet is it?
Hybrid Showdown.
Okay. So you chose hybrid over Ghost equipment?
Yeah, because
your loyalty lies with the Canadian. I get it.
Well, yeah, and Olivia works for hybrid, so she's going to do the meet too. But
yeah,
another reason
it would have looked good if Olivia did.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah, so she's going to do. It'll be her first meet, and then her first meet, my last meet.
Yeah, that's what happens when you rob the cradle.
I have no rebuttal.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, those two meets are, I don't know, they're interesting because they're pulling from each other, and it's and they're putting out good cash prizes, but the competition's not going to be that great.
It's going to be a bit watered down.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's still going to be fun.
Right now, it's like the John Hack is Yuri Belkin in it. He's just beating everyone. Like, he's untouchable right now.
His performance, like Chad Penson's performance a couple months ago, was insane.
At the US Open?
The one he did in Raps was insane. And then John's just had insane meet after. Didn't his 98 record beat the 242 record?
Yeah, I believe so.
Like that, like the conversation between who's the best powerlifter of all time, I think it's Ed Cohn and John Hack.
Yeah, I mean,
and personally, I mean, contemporary, like, right? So I'd put John up there, but
I definitely think John is for sure. And I think by the time it's all said and done, there shouldn't be a question about it. I don't even think there's a question about it now. Like, I would love to see him not miss attempts. Well, I mean, everyone misses attempts.
Yeah.
It's just the way, I mean, I don't know. I don't think you have to be a 9-for-9 lifter to be a great lifter.
No, but I think about if he put all of his best attempts in a single meet, he would be untouchable.
Yeah,
and he's untouchable already.
The likelihood of that happening is very slim to none. Very few people do that, you know. Even if they go 9-for-9, they're still undershot something.
Right.
So the idea is, like, do you leave the platform knowing that you shot for things and you were close, but you didn't get it, or undershot and say you went 9-for-9 and pat yourself on the back and call yourself a statistical, logistic good lifter? Right. I don't know.
I can send it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way, that's my mentality on it. It's like, I'd rather know what I'm capable of. Like, there was a couple meets where I squatted 805 in training. I was like, I just want to squat 800 on the platform, just give it a shot. And there was a time where I did like 771 or 782. And I was like, man, I wish I would have went for 800. And then my last meet that I was actually strong for, I tried 800. I was like, hey, I gave it a shot. I didn't get it, but at least I tried, right? At least I said I can attempt 805 on the platform.
Didn't you hit 805 though?
Not in a meet. I've done it in training. Yeah. 782 is my best in a meet.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got you on something.
Not
Got you on
good at
something.
all.
What was your
Well,
best deadlift? You pulled
you outdo me on deadlift and squat. I just outbench you by like 100 pounds.
Yeah. Fuck. Well, I was doing the math because it's like this meet is best lifter by Wilks and then best lifter by total. So there's two of them.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to get the Wilks because like one of my buddies from Calgary is going to do it and he'll probably go 19 at 181, which is like he pulled 370.
Yeah.
At 181. So it like, and he'll squat close to 7, he'll bench close to 4. And then another guy from Ontario here is coming to compete. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna have about 140 pounds on the squat, gonna take away 30 from the bench, gonna take away about 60 from the deadlift. So I should be okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I think unquestionably John is the best. Even when you compare him to Dan, I think John is a better lifter. It's just more impressive to me. Like Dan's done some crazy things, but he's not doing things that make you scratch your head crazy, right? Because his numbers
like that
aren't
573 bench.
Yeah, like it just doesn't make any sense, right?
No.
And to me, that's the freak show, and he's only going to get better, I think, if he can stay healthy.
For me, like when I was coming up, it was Dan and Jeremy.
Yeah, and I mean, no knock on Jeremy, but nobody wanted to be Jeremy Hamilton.
No.
Powerlifting got popular because everybody wanted to be Dan, because Dan looked like everybody wanted to look. You know, Jeremy had the record, but nobody could have told you who had the record when Jeremy had it, right?
Well, because Jeremy did one meet a year for 10 years or something like that. Like he did rum every year and that's it. And then he beat Dan in Dan's house, which was crazy. But yeah, when I was growing up, like Dan was the man. He had the records at 220 and 242 sleeves and wraps at the same time. And no one could touch him. Then he started getting hurt and all that stuff. And now it looks like he's somewhat healthy, except for the nerve issue in his tricep, I think.
I don't know. I'm still blocked. He doesn't like me.
You have a really impressive knack of getting people to hate you.
I just like to speak my mind, and it's usually the truth, and people don't like hearing that. He's the only one that I know that doesn't like me.
Oh, okay. I forget who I was talking to.
As a matter of fact, let me tell you something, buddy. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
When I got picked up by Elite FTS.
Yeah.
I tried out. I like filled out the application like 5 years in a row, and I never got picked. And when I got picked, Dave told me I was going to pick you last year, but the problem is that whenever I asked people, whenever I tried to vet you to see if you were a good person, no one had anything bad to say about you. And I just don't trust it when no one has anything bad to say about another person. So there you go. So you can try to
Mother Teresa over here
as much as you want, but I will let you know that
I am blocked by no one.
You don't know that.
I don't know that. I'm probably blocked by somebody.
Probably because of this show, you're probably blocked by a handful of people.
Kabuki strength.
After this one, for sure.
After this one.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. So tell me about your trip. Did you make a decision yet?
Oh, no. I have one more school to go to. I have to go to the great state of Oklahoma in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Never been, don't know what to expect, but went to the University of Kentucky, and it was great. I enjoyed it. It's a good school. It's in the middle of Lexington, so it's in the heart of the downtown area. So there's a lot to do there, and it's beautiful out there. We did a bike ride out there and went to like the horse farm and got to see all the land, and it's very, very pretty. There's some good little towns outside the outskirts of Lexington. We went to this place called Berea, which is a cool little like art town. And it's about 30 minutes south of Lexington. So it's
Corey Hayes is out there.
I don't know.
Brandon Lilly's out there too, I think, or he was. I think that's where he's from.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, don't know those guys. So, but great school. The professor, Dr. Bergstrom, she's great. I like her mentorship style, her mentorship philosophy. She keeps a tight, small group, and she pretty much allows you to do the research that you want to do, and she just helps you become like a like she doesn't really do any of her own research right now, so she just tries to mold you into becoming a academic and a professor and a good teacher. So that kind of mentorship program sounds really, really good as far as like student-centric mentorship. Their lab and their facility, it's okay. It's not the best funded lab. They do have like compartments of it that you can like reach out to. Like they have a hospital on campus. It's one of the largest hospitals on campus, the University of Kentucky Hospital. And we can do like if we get grant and funding and stuff, we can do muscle biopsies, we can do blood sampling, we can do that type of stuff. They have a biomechanics lab that's not connected with the exercise science lab, and they have like isokinetic machines and things like that. Yeah, it's a little funky.
Okay.
They built their own isokinetic machine, so that kind of tells you about their lab. It's like a makeshift leg extension. Yeah, but they're all doing research on fatigue and human performance, which is what I want to do my research on. The 3 PhD students that are there are great, good kids. One's focusing on like endurance side of it. One's focusing on resistance training, who actually came from Florida Atlantic University. He did his graduate program under Dr. Zordos. So he's all into powerlifting and lifting. And then there's one who's like in the middle, where he's focusing on endurance and strength stuff. So it's really cool. They're great guys. They showed us around. The campus is fucking huge. It's a huge campus.
Really?
Yeah. But it's almost not fair, because when I went to Ohio State, they're very well funded.
Yeah.
So their exercise science program, it's like you have all the tools and toys and bells and whistles you can have, and they work with their sports teams, so they have some interaction with them, whereas these guys, they don't really have any interaction with the sports teams or anything like that. But overall, it was a good trip. I got to learn a good bit about the school and the programming and stuff like that. So I feel like I have a good understanding of what the University of Kentucky has and what it can provide, and then what it can't provide. And then now I go to Oklahoma State University on November 12th. And the doctor that I'm going to meet there, Dr. Denier, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but probably not.
Yeah.
She actually graduated from the University of Kentucky like just a couple years ago. So she has the same kind of mentorship program and style. And she only has 1 PhD student right now, so I would be the second one she's ever had. They do have funding. They have Oklahoma State has a lot of money in their program. A big time researcher, Jason DeFritas, is out there, and he gets good funding for neuromuscular stuff. And they have some stuff that they're linking up with neuroscience, so they're pulling in both aspects of the type of research that I'm really into right now. So we'll see. I'm going to go out there and visit and see what happens.
So maybe you could clarify a little bit on how like the application process goes for a PhD program. Like I know for when I applied for my master's degrees, it was very straightforward. You send in your transcripts, you say, I want to apply for this program. You either get accepted or you don't get accepted. How does that work for a PhD program? It's
the same. They have an application process that you go through, but my train of thought always is like, I want to meet the person. And that's typically what it is with the PhD program, because you're going to be spending 3 to 4 years, very interactive with the professor. So they want to make sure that it's a good fit. personality wise, right? Because you're going to be there from 9 to 5 with the same person. And if they don't fucking like your personality, they're like, come on down, then you got to deal with that shit for like 3 to 4 years. So the vetting process is a little bit more important, meeting the people and the networking process. So I'm always a fan of like going there, seeing what the campus has. One, you're showing initiative that you really want to be there because you're paying out of pocket to go and check it all out and stuff. Mm-hmm. But the application process is the exact same thing. You do it online, and you have to have a little bit more writing material. Some places require you to have like some papers that are published, your thesis, stuff like that. But I'm a master's, no thesis. So, and I don't have anything published. And some people don't have an issue with that. Some people are like, yeah, your first semester or two as a PhD student, we want you to learn everything the way we do it anyway. So I don't really care if you don't have any lab type stuff. Like the lab in Kentucky, they're doing EMG and they're doing MMG. And I've never done that. But the kid from FAU's never done it either. So he's learning as he goes. And they're okay with that. So it's,
Perfect. Cool. Yeah. I was always wondering about that because it seemed as though it was more so an interactive, like person to person type of application process. I didn't actually realize that you still have to apply.
Yeah.
They could still tell you to fuck off.
I think once you meet them and they're like, I want this person there, the application is just semantics. You just do it because you have to do it. I think once the professor, and if they have funding, right? That's the big thing. Like the University of Kentucky, she doesn't have funding right now for another student, but there's ways around that. Like you can do a TA position, you can do a assistantship, you can do there's like 4 or 5 different outlets to get funding for school, but most professors don't want to take on a PhD student unless they can fund them. You can do that through grants. You can do that through scholarships. You can do that through assistantships.
Are your grades good enough, Tony? Can you get a scholarship?
I don't know.
They're not. Disclose that on the podcast.
I don't have a 4.0. That's for sure.
Come on.
I have a 3.5. I have a 3.5. It's not bad.
It's another thing I beat you at, man. Come on.
With what?
4.0 at USF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people ever ask you what your grade point average is.
It actually says mine on my degree. It says Paul O'Neid 4.0.
From USF. Oh, okay. I was going to say. I'm going to make sure they don't put that on mine.
Yeah. Tony Montgomery, 3.5.
Yeah. Once I have a solid B or A in class, like once I have an A in class, I usually start off with an A and then I'm like, oh, this class is pretty easy. Let me focus on some other stuff that I have going on right now. And I guess that's the problem when you have like businesses and you have a life that you need to support and you're not just a student, you can get pulled in a lot of different directions.
Oh my God, man. I was, again, like I was speaking to somebody about, it was a young coach kind of asking me about the things that I do. And I was like, yeah, like I'm an educator with Coach's Corner. I have my coaching business. I did have an app period, like at one point, and I've done a couple of different things. And they're like, man, like, how do you do all that? And I was like, man, Tony owns a gym. He owns a supplement company. He's doing his master's degree. He has a coaching business. Like, you can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do. I'm like, Elon Musk owns like 6 businesses very successfully. It's like, I'm wasting so much time in my day compared to them. It's like, I can still do more.
Yeah. And like there was a point, especially when we were trying to build the app up and get it going, where I had that kind of one track mind of like work all the time.
Yeah.
And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, what am I trying to accomplish with this? And this is a conversation I have a lot with coaches that I mentor, is like, what type of lifestyle do you want to live? Mm-hmm. Right. So are you creating this ecosystem of businesses, workload that contribute to the lifestyle that you want to be living. If you want to be able to wake up in the morning, sip your coffee, read a book, start your day nice and slow, ramp up, train in the middle of the day, and do all these things, well, you're not going to be able to do 4 or 5 different businesses.
No.
So you need to make
sure,
not exactly. So you need to make sure that the things you're doing are scaled to the point where you can manage the workload and they afford you the income you need to live comfortably.
Yeah.
Or you can look to opportunities that scale your income to a large degree, but also demand a massive amount of your time.
Right. There's something to be said about that, right? Like,
and there
if you
is.
want to be very successful at something, you have to be single-mindedly focused on it for a very long time.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there were times when you were building up each one of your businesses, like each vertical of your ecosystem, that you were singularly focused on putting all of your time into subject zero or all of your time into strength union. And you surrounded yourself with people who were able to complement that type of focus. You, in my opinion, you can't do it any other way. That workload was high initially, and then now you've got systems to keep it in place and keep it, growing at a steady pace. But there are times when that ebb and flow of business picks up and you have to dive in, and you might miss a couple hours of sleep or all of it. And
yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? It's like, especially with COVID, man, it taught me, like, I'd rather have a diversified portfolio than to be singularly focused. I'm thankful that my portfolio is very much in the same realm of things, where it's all fitness related and they build off of each other. So I'm happy about that. And I do have like money in stocks and small investments here and there, but those are like, I use the AI systems for that. And I'm like, I'll let the fucking computer make better choices than me.
Yep.
But I think that that's important, right? I think you have to do what makes you feel comfortable. And for me, I know that they're like, when I was singularly focused on coaching, I had upwards to like 80 to 100 clients, but that was my only job. And even then I didn't think I was doing the greatest at it because I had too many people on my plate. And you can get burnt out when you're doing that. But then I noticed, like, once I stopped competing as much, there was a big ebb and flow to the clientele roster. And I was like, I don't want to rely on a business that's going to create a lot of ebb and flow, or a business that relies on solely my ability to compete at a high level, because that's ephemeral. That's not going to last, right? So it's like, okay, well, what can I do to complement that and to continue to build on that, so that the ebbs and flows of each business kind of, mesh together to where you don't really see ebbs and flows. And to me, that's where I'm at. Does other businesses suffer because of it? Yes, of course, and undoubtedly, one business could be growing better than the other. But for me, it's at a comfortable spot where there's no ebbs and flows, because when one flows, the other one ebbs, but it always stays kind of where I need it to stay. And then as long as it's steadily progressing from there, it's going to be a slower progress because there's not 100% effort to it. I'm okay with that. And, that's also why I'm getting my PhD, because, right, like, I feel, well, one, I love school, and I can fucking go to school for the rest of my life. Then I would do that if I get paid for that, but I'm too dumb to get paid for that. So
now you might not be in the future.
Well, yeah, I might, like, I'll get done with my PhD and like, I'm going to do a postdoc. Like, for what? Because I just love school. It's like, no, let's get a job. Let's get a career going. But like, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get my PhD and teach and do research and stuff, because to me, that adds a lot of like structure and a lot of security to something that doesn't up and wave and down. Like, if I get tenure, I'm good, unless I do something stupid, like and get like charted out of school, like Jordan Peterson and Brett Weinstein and his wife. But they
don't take a stand for anything.
They took a stand, and
they're doing pretty okay.
They're doing pretty good. Have you read their new book yet?
No, I haven't.
Do you know what it is?
Not really. I know it's a critique on the world, basically, on like social justice and shit.
Not as much. It's the hunter-gatherer's guide to surviving this millennium or something like that.
Okay.
It's interesting. I haven't read it, but I listened to them on Joe Rogan talk about it.
Yeah.
It seems like a good book. I don't know. How do you feel about the Weinsteins?
I think they're pretty, okay. I really enjoy listening to people who make me think, regardless of if I agree with them or not.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about them.
Yeah. They're so obnoxious.
Oh, they're the most pretentious people.
Yes.
Like their sex must be the most sterile experience.
Yes. Yeah. Even Eric, right? Eric, he's the worst to me. And the thing that's funny is he tries so hard to be liked by like Joe Rogan and his people. Then Tim Dillon did a tweet about him and he got so upset. It's like, you hang out with comedians, you're going to get made fun of.
Yeah.
Right. But he just couldn't handle it. He's like, how dare he make fun of me? You know who I am? Like, man, yeah. I like them. They're very, very smart. They have some good thoughts, but I can only take them in small doses. They're very pretentious. Even his son was on the Lex Friedman podcast. And I was like, this fucking kid, he's like 17. What makes him think that his opinion is valid in any scope of life?
Yeah. I love Lex's podcast. Lex is a really, really interesting person.
Yeah.
But back to the work thing. Like I'm at a point now where I've tried to, like, I've dove head into coaching. I fucking love coaching. I dove head into the app. It was a lot of fun initially, but as the business grew and as the scope changed, I really didn't like what it ended up being, which was, once you have a product built, you become a marketing engine. And I didn't like that. I had never been good at selling and selling and selling. And
so you don't feel that way for coaching?
No, not at all. Because I am the product. Like what I do, how I communicate, my process is what I'm selling. So if I believe in what actually, that's not a really good way to put it, because I did believe in what the app was. When I am directly involved with that, that's what lights my fire. As the app became this thing, I was divorcing myself from the individual person, and I didn't really enjoy that. Mm-hmm. So with coaching, I get my fire lit all day. I'm like talking to people, helping them, celebrating their wins, troubleshooting their losses. Like I'm really excited by that. I get that same fire from Coach's Corner because we interact with our members all the time. We get to teach. Now that the borders are going to be open, we're going to be able to do seminars, and there's a ton of opportunities to be one-on-one and influencing others. So I love that stuff. And through coaching, Coach's Corner, I do a little bit of personal training as well. I don't need to scale my income to live the lifestyle I want to live. I have the income. I also have investments, and I own my home. And so now it's about creating verticals that build on each other, like you've created. So I have Coach's Corner, coaching, personal training. Then it could be something else. But I'm in a position now where the only things I'm going to touch are things that really light my fire.
Yeah. I guess the thing that I would think of next once you have that is like scalability of product, right?
Exactly.
You're only one person. Once you hit that threshold of, personal training hours, clients, the question is, do you need a more lucrative lifestyle? And if so, how do you scale what you're doing? Or are you satisfied with what you have and that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life? Right. And I think that's what a lot of people have to ask themselves, right?
But I think that's a crapshoot, because like you get into this position where, okay, say you make $100,000. It's a lot of money, right?
Yes.
So especially if you have a spouse who earns an income as well, That's a lot of money. You guys are doing really well. What is, like, if you guys are happy and you're living the lives you want to live, what's the impetus for increasing your expenses and forcing yourself to scale your income? Right? Like, if I think a lot of people get like dollar signs in their eyes when they see realistically how easy it is to scale your income within this industry. Like, if you want, say you don't really care about the service you're providing and you scale your coaching clientele to 100 people. I know for a fact I cannot provide the service that I want to provide to people if I have 100 people that I'm coaching.
You don't talk fast enough. That's why.
Well, I know that. But so if you're charging $200 a month and you have 100 clients, you're making $20,000 a month. That's a lot of money. Yeah. Add to that, say you have another source of income. Maybe you sell some t-shirts on your website. Maybe you do a seminar every other month. You could easily scale that 20,000 a month to 25,000 on average a month. At $25,000 a month, if you want to keep scaling, you could absolutely keep scaling, but why?
Yeah.
Do you want to enjoy your time? I don't want to be strapped to my laptop.
Well, that's the idea with scalability, is that by scaling your business, you create more freedom because you're scaling it by pulling yourself away from it. So that's the idea. You become a business owner rather than a coach, right? And that's something that people have to tangle with, because do you see yourself being a coach for the rest of your life? Because there's no retirement pension. There's no, I mean, if you're smart, you're setting up a Roth IRA and you're investing with what you have and stuff so you can retire. But right, do you see yourself doing that for the rest of your life? Or at some point in time, do you want to pull back and allow other coaches to make you money instead of you doing all the work?
Right. And so I think that's where the ticket is with scaling as a coach, because no one retires as a coach. I remember it was one of my first days at USF in the internship program with the strength and conditioning department. Ron McKeefery sat us all down and was like, how many strength coaches do you know that have retired as strength coaches? And I was like, well, I'm sure the guy at Texas is going to retire as a strength coach. He was like 62 years old, but he wasn't coaching anymore. He was an administrator. But other than that, I cannot think of a single person that's going to retire as a strength coach. And the reason he brought that up was that he was one of the first ones that I ever saw diversifying what he does, like writing books and, doing clinics and all of these other business ventures. Back when they still had DVDs, he would make the coaching DVDs.
The good days.
And and that's always been in the back of my mind. And it's like, for us, the easiest way to scale our income is building up Coach's Corner, because we can provide a fantastic amount of a fantastic service, continue to have great interactions and make connections with people, but that's not dependent on a number of hours. It'd be the same number of hours.
Right.
Now, in terms of scalability as a single coach, time for money. That's all you're doing.
Yep.
So what can you do? Well, you can create better systems so that you're more efficient in your service delivery.
Yep.
You can
charge more.
You can charge more, and you can scale the type of service. So you could have different levels of service depending on what you're trying to do. But again, it still comes down to time for money. I think a lot of coaches dive into the group coaching model, where they offer like something like Train Heroic or My Strength Book, where they offer templated programs at a reduced rate, which I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah,
but I think most people can get pretty good results following a templated program.
Yeah, I agree.
It's definitely not the kind
shows you that, right?
Exactly. But I think where you build a business is, so I'm going to start, like, it's already in the back of my mind, is like, I want to start bringing coaches on that I can teach how to coach, and that eventually I build out my mentorship tree of people who coach for me. Maybe eventually they go out on their own, and I bring in new people that coach for me, learn the way I do things. And like, I think that to me is really probably the best way, unless
You got to
again,
find
you
what
want to
works
go
for
the
you,
volume
right?
way. Yeah,
Like you love coaching, so you'll be coaching the rest of your life, and that can mean
for sure, in
coaching
some
other
capacity.
coaches under you and coaching athletes. Some people don't love coaching, but they're really good coaches, and then they're like, okay, well, how can I make income? It's like, okay, well, create an ebook, create some type of service to where you're providing one, like it only takes you one time to do something, but then you can reuse that over and over again, right?
Yep.
So that way, there's so many ways to do it. You just have to, one, be creative and think outside the box. There may be something that's no one's doing right now that you come up with that can serve you. And I think that's having an open mind, and that's being important.
You know who did that really well is Jordan Shallow.
Yeah.
In a time where there wasn't really anyone doing online learning, he put out, like, he was already known for his nuanced look at training. So he put out a course that required, X amount of hours of his day per week. And he scaled the shit out of it so that every time he wants to put on a Prescript level 1 course, he can have thousands of people on at one time.
Yeah.
That's scaling your business 101.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You just got to find what's the best fit for you. And I think a lot of people don't have that internal like awareness to figure that out. And, it's going to take time. You'll have to I've gone through several business entities to try to figure out what I want to do. And,
I'm on career number 4, I think.
Yeah. You're never going to figure it out the first time, but if you're doing what you love and you're helping people, and that's typically what we do as a living, we help people. That's what we love to do, whether it's through education, whether it's through coaching and fixing health problems or anything like that, right? That's something that's going to be ingrained. You just got to find what path that you can deliver that on to your best ability.
I do want to say one last thing on this point though, before you like finish off that discussion, is like, if you're at a point where you're earning a really good income and you're comfortable, you're able to set aside money for the future, you're able to, spend money on the things that you want to spend money on without necessarily looking at the price tag. That's what I would consider to be, a comfortable life. There is nothing that says that you have to scale beyond that point.
A lot of times that hurts people. Like, good example is my first gym that I had. It was 2,500 square foot. And within that gym, I was grossing right around $11,000 a month.
Okay.
I was working maybe like 8 hours a week, right? Very good time to profit ratio.
You mean netting 11,000 a month?
No, grossing. I was
Okay.
netting right around like 8,500, 9,000, and the rent was really cheap, and I got lucky with that. Yeah, so not bad, right? Working maybe 40 hours a month, very good. I was like, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll get a bigger gym because bigger is always better. I got 5,000 square foot. Rent went up. Clientele did not necessarily go up at first, but I bought more equipment and I incurred more debt, and and then it became more of a hassle. Then it became that next evolution. I didn't need to expand, but in my mind, I was like, oh, well, the next obvious step is to get a bigger gym. I was like, I didn't even have a wait list for my gym yet, right? I should have had a wait list first. Then like the demand tells you what to do. Don't just go out and do it. And that's what happens a lot of time is people start a business and they're like, I'm going to get a 10,000 square foot facility right off the bat. And it's like, dude, Joe DeFranco built his business out of a fucking storage closet, right? It's like,
I remember when I went to DeFranco's gym, it was like 1,500 square feet. It was barely bigger than my basement.
right.
He's training NFL players in there.
You just got to be a good coach, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's really what I wanted to say is like, if you have a good understanding of like truly what you want out of your work, like, are we living to work or working to live, right? If you're working to live, you're earning an income so that you can do the things that you want to enjoy, but then you happen to be earning an income doing something you also enjoy a lot. Who's to say that you can't just live that life, love what you're doing, live within your means, and ride off into the sunset with your stress levels low.
Yeah, it's good in theory, but it's hard as an entrepreneur, right? People that are
It is.
entrepreneurs have the personality of trying to do more and trying to always be better. And it's something that can be a very negative trap to fall into. Like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. I need to be doing more. Instead of just being like, man, I'm really comfortable with where I'm at. People hear comfort and they think complacency and they think lazy. And it's like, no,
I just buy things.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm really good right now. I'm gonna go buy a new car.
That's true.
I like a really sweet car now.
Good for you.
Thanks, man.
Good
Super
for you.
fast.
Yeah, my brother just bought his like dream truck, and
Oh, yeah?
we were talking about like buying vehicles. I'm like, yeah, this is like the one thing that I'm willing to spend money on, knowing that it's going to be the worst investment of my life.
100%.
But I just want to have a nice car.
When I was growing up, my dad, so the reason I wanted a truck initially is because when I was growing up, my dad was doing a lot of property management and he was on a lot of construction sites doing like contracting work. And he's like, you know, a guy works hard when he drives a really nice truck. So like, cool. When I'm successful enough, I'm going to drive a really nice truck. And then I had my truck and I enjoyed it and it was great. I'm like, as you know, when I can afford to drive a nice vehicle, I'm going to drive a nice vehicle. I want to be comfortable. It's a status symbol. And I don't fucking care what other people think. If I'm happy driving my car and spending way too much money on it, it's really loud and drives really fast.
No, nothing wrong with that. You gotta find, everyone has their vices, and you just got to find the one that you can endure, I guess.
Yeah, just don't make that drug use.
There you go.
Cocaine and entrepreneurship doesn't go well together.
Well, Wolf on Wall Street would disagree.
I mean, he didn't end up in the best place.
But he was living a good life for a good time. I was just listening to Dr. Hunt on the Lex Friedman podcast, and he would be very ashamed of you by denigrating drug use the way you did, as it's a bad thing.
Perhaps I haven't been exposed to the right kinds of drugs.
His thing is that it's not drugs that are the issue. It's the people that are the issue.
I would agree with that.
How many people do drugs on a daily basis that don't become addicts? Far more than do become addicts, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right. So that's his thing. And he's like, when you listen to him on the Friedman podcast, he was on Joe Rogan. So he's the Columbia professor who researches drugs, but he also uses heroin on a daily basis.
I heard about him. Yeah.
Very interesting guy. And like I said, he's an Ivy League professor, does research on it, and
he enjoys heroin.
He does it all. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. He tries it all. And he went on this big rant on the Friedman podcast about how he hates how the TV and the movies make drugs to be the bad guys in everything, but murder and all this other stuff is okay. Like he used The Sopranos as an example, where Tony Soprano is a hitman, a killer. I could be talking on I've never seen The Sopranos, so I don't know what he actually does. So I'm just reiterating what he said. Okay. And he's like, and then there's this one scene where his nephew or somebody he's family with is doing drugs, and they make that guy out to be the bad guy, where Tony Soprano is like, oh, he's going through a rough time. His family member's doing drugs and he's a hitman. It's like, he's killing people. But they make the drug kid, the bad guy.
It's really interesting how you can spin something just by the way that you look at it.
Yeah. Very interesting. And it was good. And then one of the things we did on the road trip was listen to the Dave Chappelle. Did you hear the new Dave Chappelle yet?
I watched it. It was good. I loved it. And then I knew immediately when I was done that he was going to get so much flack for it. And I also knew that nothing would come of it.
No, he's almost
bulletproof.
untouchable. Yeah,
he is. absolutely beyond reproach. Not only because Netflix is standing behind, like I'm impressed that Netflix is like, no, like we're not taking it down. We love Dave.
How much money he makes Netflix?
Yeah, exactly. But Dave's also like, he's the guy who said no to $50 million and fucked off.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit.
No.
Cancel him. He's done. He's already the greatest of all time. He doesn't give a shit. He has enough money.
You can't cancel someone who's canceled themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, good point.
It's not going to happen. But I found it to be very interesting. He's such a great storyteller.
Yeah.
His comedy was an hour long of telling this story. And there's a lot of comedians that don't do that. They have segments. They have 10-minute segments of a story. He did a whole hour and told one story. And I thought it was hilarious, and it made you think.
Yep.
And it offended people. And that's what comedy is. It's like,
you can't. Well, it's like what we said before. You hang out with comedians, you're going to get made fun of. If you watch comedy, you're going to get offended.
And it's like, why does it offend you is the question you should ask yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Because it is just comedy. It's doing stuff to provoke a reaction, and hopefully that reaction is humor. But if your reaction is not humor, maybe you should ask yourself why it's not humor and why it is such vitriol and hate and like despise of another human being.
Did you watch Theo Vaughn's new special?
I don't like him that much. I think he's hilarious in like bits and pieces on podcasts.
Yeah.
But I've watched a little bit of his old special, and I can't get behind. I'm not a fan.
I much prefer his off the cuff stuff.
Yeah.
Where he's just talking out of his ass. I think it's hilarious.
He was on Jocko, and I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, he was great on Jocko. The special is good, not as good as his off the cuff stuff, but he makes some jokes that could easily be very, very offensive. Like, I'm not even going to say it on the show, but there was a couple points like making fun of trans people, making fun of different cultures, and at one point he's like, someone got punched by a gay guy, and like, to me it's just ridiculous because it's comedy.
Yeah,
but people have zero sense of humor these days.
It's not good.
So like the way that I speak publicly in a lot of instances has been completely changed because of social media and like what I'm afraid to say.
That's not good.
Like, because I would love to speak about some of the issues that I run into with clients, or I mean, when you're coaching clients through challenging times in their lives, you deal with everything. You see everything. They share things with you that I'm sure they barely share with family members or close friends. But some of that stuff we could never speak about, because if we brought up a topic that was maybe polarizing, boom, we could get canceled if we say the wrong thing. Whereas
I don't think that you think like that. I don't think like that.
I do. I'm very cautious about that sort of thing, because this is my entire income.
Yeah.
Right. Like, well, not my entire income. It's most of my income. So if I got kicked off of Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and I wasn't able to advertise what I do or educate through that medium, I would probably lose a lot of my business, at least initially.
Yeah.
A simple thing is like progress pictures. Okay. So I have never directly asked clients for progress pictures, even though I know for a fact it would make the coaching process a lot smoother. But at the beginning of my interactions with clients, I say, I would encourage you to take progress pictures. If you wish to share them with me, you're more than welcome, but I want you to have them for your own records. Unless that person's getting ready for a physique show or something like that, then we're going to do progress pictures. But to me, that's because I don't have a company to stand behind. If someone was to say, oh, Paul was asking me for pictures, right? Even if it's, I need progress pictures every week or every 2 weeks or whatever the interval might be. oh, I really didn't like my interaction with Paul. He even wanted me to send him pictures in my underwear. That's not at all what I said. But if someone puts that out there, as well as I do, I don't have recourse.
You do. You're a nutrition coach.
But if someone puts it out there to the world that I acted in an inappropriate manner, even though I know that I would never, there's no way that I could redeem myself from that in this no forgiveness, cancel him immediately world that we live in.
Yeah.
And I would much rather just not take the risk and say, hey, I'm not going to ask you for progress pictures, but you should keep them for yourselves. And if you want to share them with me, you're more than welcome.
I say, look here, fatty, you're going to take pictures and you're going to do exactly what I tell you to do. And yeah, I mean, I've never had issues with it. And
I'm sure I mostly never would, but if, yeah, this safety
world we
first.
live in.
Wear a
All right,
helmet,
man.
bubble wrap your kids.
Quit squatting high, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.